Great. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate you tuning in for our Citizen Science Month webinar with folks from our Citizen Science Month Working Group. My name is Rihanna Putnam. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for the Citizen Science Association. I'm joined today by Dan Stanton, who's a librarian with the Arizona State University Libraries, who works with SciStarter to help create citizen science kits for public libraries in their area. We also have Vivian Bird, who's a librarian with the Exploration and Creativity Department at the Los Angeles Public Library, where she does citizen science programs for them. And lastly, we have Carolyn Nickerson, who is with SciStarter, and she is, among many hats that she wears, she manages SciStarter's Citizen Science Month program, where she coordinates weekly calls and does lots of outreach around the event. And so you've probably seen her name around, and we're excited to hear more from her and all of our speakers. Before I turn it over to our three presenters today, I have a few notes about the CSA and just a little bit of housekeeping about Zoom, and then we'll be on our way. So for those of you that are new to the Citizen Science Association, the CSA is a member-driven organization that connects people from a wide range of experiences around a shared purpose of advancing knowledge and research and monitoring done by, for, and with members of the public. Our membership represents this multidisciplinary and multidimensional field, and we have folks from all sorts of fields, from librarians and educators to researchers, evaluators, program leaders, all sorts of folks. Our membership supports the services of the CSA, and we encourage you to learn more about what we do at the CSA through the link on our screen. Sorry, my screen's a little stuck. Whoop. There we go. Getting involved with the CSA is one way that you can grow as a leader in the field, make new connections, and support the association. Our working groups are one of the ways that we work to advance the goals of the Citizen Science Association. We have 8 different working groups that are working on a variety of different cross-cutting issues, from ethics and law and policy, to even a Citizen Science Month group that has been working on this event and just furthering public-facing efforts in the field. You can learn more about how to get involved on our website. This webinar will be recorded and archived along with all of our past webinars on our website. You can find a whole archive on YouTube with webinars on things like research ethics and volunteer engagement, law and policy. We have a whole lot of those. We also have many webinars scheduled for the coming year. We're excited to be expanding the number of webinars that we're offering, including these 3 coming up later this month. We have another from our Law and Policy Working Group this month on privacy issues. That'll be on the 24th. And then we have 2 webinars that we're hosting along with the National Water Quality Monitoring Council. One on innovative stream monitoring collaborations that'll talk about some unique citizen science projects that Trout Unlimited has been doing, and another on engaging volunteers for long-term monitoring success that will draw upon some of the lessons learned from the volunteer monitoring world that you can apply to any citizen science project. You can sign up for those on our website. There's more details and the event registration pages. Lastly, we do have everybody in listen-only mode today, but we do encourage you to use the chat box. For those of you that haven't, go ahead and tell us who you are and where you're calling from in the chat box. If you're working on, if you're already planning a Citizen Science Month project, let us know about it. If you're just interested in one, just tell us more about why you're on the call today. It's a great way for our panelists to hear more from you and for you to get to know one another on the call today. If you aren't seeing the chat, it might be hidden under the 3 dots, and so you can click there. Another thing to note is to make sure that it says to all panelists and attendees. Sometimes it gets set to just all panelists, so that way everyone can see your response. Lastly, if you are on Twitter and you're looking to live tweet this, you can do that by using the hashtag CitSciMonth or CitSci webinar. We're looking forward to having folks share more about what they're learning through all of our upcoming webinars there. And so if you don't mind using the hashtags, we'd appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan Stanton, and he'll tell you a little bit more about Citizen Science Months. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Rihanna. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear
Okay.
you. Yep.
Yes.
Great. So yeah, my name is Dan Stanton, and I am here in the great state of Arizona. First thing I want to do is make a pitch for the Citizen Science Association conference, which will be held at the end of May of 2021 out here in Tempe, Arizona, where it's currently it's under 60 degrees, you know, a little cool for us, but, and I can almost guarantee it will be a little bit warmer than that at the end of May, but it'll still be comfortable. So invite you all out there at the end of May next year. My name's Dan Stanton, and I am a research and engagement librarian at Arizona State University. And I've worked with the ASU Library for over 25 years, and one of my current responsibilities is working with the ASU School for the Future of Innovation in Society, which will also be one of the co-sponsors of the conference next year. And Darlene Cavalier, who is the founder of SciStarter, is a professor of practice at the School of the Future of Innovation in Society. And so for the past 4 years, we've been working together to try to break down the barriers for participation in citizen science. So currently, our two biggest projects leverage the role that libraries play as cornerstones of the community, promoting civic engagement, cultural opportunities, and economic vitality freely to the entire community, regardless of demographics. And libraries provide services and resources, as they say, cradle to gray. And through funding from the Institute for Museum and Library Services, the IMLS, we created and field tested self-contained citizen science project kits that are being circulated at public libraries in the Phoenix area. We've also been working with library staff to create resources for facilitating collaborative partnerships with others in the community so that researchers and participants get what they need out of the experience. And we've currently started working with the National Library of Medicine, the NLM, and its regional and local partners in the National Network of Libraries of Medicine to create and promote resources encouraging participation in citizen science, specifically through Citizen Science Day, which no longer can be contained in one day and has moved out to Citizen Science Month. So having spent a couple of years introducing the general public to citizen science opportunities, I'm pleased to have this chance to share what we've learned with researchers and project managers behind the citizen science and to demonstrate, hopefully, the benefit for the field for everyone to participate in public-facing events, such as Citizen Science Month. So, well, I'm hoping it's not too hard to convince you to participate in Citizen Science Months. There are some compelling reasons you should participate. As practitioners, you probably have a fairly defined idea about what citizen science is and what you'd like to get out of it. But what about the public? Citizen Science Month is designed to make a splash and get some attention. Public events require planning, and collaborative public events require coordination. But that effort can expand the impact and reach exponentially. You may be ready to introduce your project to the public and increase your public participation in data collection, or you may just want to get a feel for things by getting involved as a citizen scientist in someone else's project. It's all good. Either way, you can help demystify the research process, help others get comfortable with doing science. You may even learn or share some best practices that improve the activity for everyone involved. Finally, we're going to share some resources available to assist you no matter how you get involved. And we would love to know about any valuable resources you might use so that we can share them openly through SciStarter and continue to lift this boat. So one thing that we found in working with public is that citizen science as a concept, let alone as a participative activity, is not something the general public is really familiar with. They may be familiar with STEM activities, but the extra layer of concern, responsibility sometimes enters the picture when people find out that they will actually be contributing to scientific research. So here are some of our definitions of what citizen science is. So what do these definitions mean for the public? So I've got Citizen Science Association, SciStarter, NNLM, and even the Wikipedia definition. So this kind of works for us, but what does it mean for our public? In 2018, before we started tackling our kits in the Phoenix area, our library partners created displays highlighting resources that they already had in their collections and asking library patrons about their awareness of and interest in citizen science. And I have to say that I was actually surprised that our local libraries had so many resources, books, and so forth about citizen science in their collections already. So that was great. And then we also had the displays, and you can see the little Post-it note, leaf style Post-it note, where we asked people for their ideas about things that they would like to do for citizen science. That was our first entry into Citizen Science Day. And then in 2019, last year, we had created the kits for our 6 pilot libraries, and we wanted to expand participation. We knew that awareness of and comfort with citizen science was the first step towards participation. And so we took what we had learned and we tried to open things up, working with a designer, partnering with the Citizen Science Association a bit more, and NLLM, creating posters and reproducible resources for libraries to put up prior to Citizen Science Day, and inviting the public to become aware. And these are just some of the resources that we had for the 2019 Citizen Science Day. What we really wanted to show was that ordinary people can make a difference. And while we highlighted stall catchers as our 2019 Citizen Science Day featured project, we created and shared general resources that focused on the creation of an event and left the specific project decision up to the facilitator. So as citizen science facilitators, libraries really have no direct stake in the research, but we know our communities, and we have the option of selecting projects of interest that we think our communities would be interested in. Also incorporating local experts and cross-promoting with other activities. I had mentioned that libraries, public libraries, are working cradle to gray, and so they have story time, and they have summer reading programs, and they have all kinds of programs where you can kind of cross-pollinate and introduce citizen science as something that people could be interested in. And so while we try to improve the participant experience, the project is only as good as the information, the protocols, and the instruments provided or specified by the project managers. And we have been fortunate to be able to provide feedback to project managers based on participant surveys and things like that. So here are some more photos of citizen scientists at work in our Phoenix area. And so for us, library staff are incredible professionals who offer resources and services for free to everyone in the community, period. That is a an important part of what we're trying to do is in leveraging the public libraries. But they're not citizen science project managers. What's missing oftentimes, and we've heard this a lot, is a direct link from the scientific research, from the scientific community to the project activity. And so it would be great if scientific experts were available to fill in the blanks about specific research in person or through online resources or webinars. And so collaborating in public events, Citizen Science Day in 2019 focused on the Stall Catchers Megathon. And so initially we set it up to track participation during a 1-hour period across the continental US, looking to have something to quantify what could be accomplished collectively in the lab in 1 hour, what could be done compared to normal activity in the lab, I should say. And so Stall Catchers was an established online project that provided excellent resources about the science, excellent communication between participants and researchers, and instant reporting of individual and team contributions. And so here are some of the results that we had for that. Last year's Megathon, probably our biggest mistake was underestimating the interest in citizen science. It was actually pretty incredible. For us, it was on a Saturday. Libraries have reduced hours on Saturdays. Schools are closed. Different time zones across the world. We were thinking too small. We were thinking just kind of the continental US. For the rest of the world, they wanted to contribute. But in the true spirit of Citizen Science Day prevailed. Following that Saturday, schools continued to log in during the week after. They participated. Citizen scientists from around the world participated in the middle of the night, and we realized that we had outgrown citizen science as a particular day. And I spoke with Pietro Macalucci, who is the project manager for Stall Catchers, about what his takeaway was in terms of encouraging project managers and researchers to get involved in Citizen Science Day. He said one of the things with Citizen Science Day is like an open marketplace. The more projects that come, the more people come and bring more people to each project. Participating in the Citizen Science Day brings visibility and credibility to your project as it has been vetted and promoted by SciStarter. And Citizen Science Day creates exposure opportunities to subpopulations that might not otherwise be aware of your project or engage with it. Local meetup aspect is something that may be new and a powerful tool for many projects, is getting people together at the library to work on your citizen science project. And so some options to participate. Even if you don't have a current citizen science project going, you can spread the word and help others to get involved. SciStarter has an event finder where you can search locations, zip codes, cities, towns, institutions, things like that. You can narrow it through date ranges and so on. And I just ran this search today for New York during April. And you see the citizen science, the New York Botanic Garden on April 25th. Now we are looking for people to populate the event finder here at SciStarter by adding their events to it so that people can find things in the general area. You can also go in via map and see what things are going on there. So we're hoping that people are going to get involved, and we'll start seeing more blue dots around there. So you can add things to the events, the event finder. Anything from, again, search location, date, location, or type. It could be anything from a bio blitz to a hackathon to a webinar to a book club. Anything like that can be put into the SciStarter event finder and help people get involved. Other things you can do. I'm just coming off of a sabbatical at North Carolina State University, and they have a citizen science club, an undergraduate citizen science club that is active doing their own projects, but also active in generating citizen science awareness and participation on campus and in the community. It's really cool. So if you're a faculty member, it might be something to look into, working with student groups, things like that, promoting and facilitating citizen science events on campus and the community. This is a library guide, which needs revision, by the way, that I have here at the Arizona State University Library. But it gets picked up through Google searches and provides information and resources about citizen science. This was the first place where National Network of Libraries of Medicine promoter from Los Angeles, Kelly Ham, saw this when she was in Arizona doing a training, got in touch with me, and that's how we started the SciStarter ASU NNLM collaboration that we've been working on for a couple of years. So any way that you can get that information out there and encourage people asking questions and communicating is a good thing to moving things forward. And then you can write something up. Carolyn could certainly speak to this. Write up a blog post to share with SciStarter about what you've got going on in your network. Share it with your other networks, even your local media. Our local NPR station here in Phoenix has a science desk that is given some airtime to citizen science. And Stall Catchers last year was covered. The Stall Catchers Megathon was covered on Science Friday. So media is a good way to get things out, a different way to reach different people. And so lastly, I just want to share a couple of resources here about where you can get some help. So obviously, Citizen Science Association, citizenscience.org, they have a Citizen Science Month page with resources and information there. And as things move on and get clarified, there will be more information. SciStarter has a Citizen Science Month link, and this has grown up from Citizen Science Day last year, but there's all kinds of resources for facilitating public events, not just choosing the event that you might want to get involved in, but helping you to set those things up. And it's a great way to start having those conversations with others in your communities that might be interested in citizen science, including what was the Librarian's Guide to Citizen Science, which is now the Libraries and Communities Guide to Citizen Science, because it is such a new concept. We want people who are able to host events to feel comfortable doing that. The National Network of Libraries of Medicine has a guide about crowdsourcing in citizen science as well. And then that is it for me. I am just gonna, my contact information, it looks a little cut off there, but that is there. And you could either do questions now or at the end. And
Let's do at the end,
okay.
just in case we run out of time.
Absolutely. I will stop sharing and thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Dan. And Vivian, you're up next. And Vivian, you're muted.
Okay, I'm back.
All right.
Sorry. All right, so let me get my slides up. Give a second.
And so everyone, whoever you are on the line, whether you're, a researcher or just a person who's enthusiastic about citizen science, or maybe you run a nonprofit, whoever you are and however you've come to this, if you're an educator, for example, we definitely want you to consider libraries as potential partners, but you could really do an event anywhere. We're just providing this library context because they are such great parts of our community and so important, and I think natural partners for you. So I'll let Vivian take it away. She's going to give kind of her own personal experience and tips and all that great stuff.
All right, so hi everyone, I'm Vivian Bird, and I'm a Librarian 3, also known as STEAM or STEM librarian now today with Los Angeles Public Library. And I'm also the project lead for our systems citizen science program projects. And I was a children's librarian for 11 years, then was promoted to my current position to coordinate system-wide STEAM and STEM programs. We decided to delve into citizen science projects and also offer them as a program in the library because we found that to be a perfect way, an opportunity to connect participants of our STEM programs to some real world applications. So that's how we started. Before I go in further, I want to give you a little bit background about our neighborhood science program, which is another name we call it citizen science. We just want to give it a more strong emphasis on community engagement. Currently, our neighborhood science program is run with, we're using the LSTA grant. I forgot the full name of the grant, but it is what we've been using to help us hosting and running our citizen science programs, and it's a pilot. So we started off, we kicked off in January last year, and as part of the grant's requirement, we also invite another public library, which is Pasadena Public Library, to join us. That way it's easier for us to compare notes how a neighborhood science program would work in a major metropolitan library system versus which we have 73 locations altogether, including Central Library, and a smaller suburb library. And currently we're piloting the neighborhood science program in total of 21 branches. That's Los Angeles Public Library and Pasadena Public combined. So I'm going to start giving you a little bit of the hows on how you can collaborate with libraries. So here's the first question: how to reach out to a library as a project owner and collaborate. So there are 3 things that I want to emphasize. The first thing you wanted to do is do a bit of a research. It always helps, let's say if you already know everything you want to know, what are you looking for your citizen science project? You know all the details, but you might want to do a bit of research on, if you're looking for a specific library system or a particular community, you might want to do a bit of research on the demographics of that library is serving. And another thing is you want to visit the library's website and find out what types of programs that the library or library systems are currently offering. Your best bet would be any libraries that's currently offering some sort of STEAM or STEM programs, because this is so science related. Any library system that's currently having these type of programs, and I'm going to say probably 90% of the libraries out there are doing that right now. So you have a very good chance of finding that collaboration. It would also help for you to look for the library's strategic plans. We typically built in, what we wish to accomplish for the next 5 years, what type of programs, what type of campaigns or initiative that we have. And so by looking into that, you can see if there's anything that can ties to your project. Another thing is, if you're targeting particular cities or communities because you're looking to fill your data gap, it will always help to look into like what's the city or the community's plans. For instance, for Los Angeles, we have our mayor has this LA city plan that actually has this very strong emphasis on sustainability to make LA a sustainable city. So anything that ties into that would get a lot of strong focus. And it will be easier also for us to request additional funding from the city if we need to in order to run your program. As I mentioned earlier, if you go to the website, the library's website, you will find out what are some of their current existing or upcoming initiatives. And again, from there, you can see how, if there's any way that you can tie your projects to any of these initiatives. It would just make it a lot easier for librarians to say, hey, we could just add this on, and it would, you know, it would be a great way to, for us to bring more additional information or knowledge to participants of our programs. So currently, for instance, for Los Angeles Public Library, we have Health Matters as one of the initiative, STEAM or STEM, neighborhood science, homelessness initiative. And so talking about Health Matters, so if your citizen science project has to do with health, that will be something we can easily tie into. So once you find out if, you know, this particular library system or the community organization or whatever is a good partner to partner to collaborate with, you will want to reach out to them. And typically when we get like potential partners or collaborators, information is when they send an email to our generic email box. It's like when you go to our website, it says contact us, and that's where you put in. And that usually will take a little longer to get to the appropriate or the proper coordinator. So my suggestion is the best way to do that is to call. If you call, you can ask. Couple ways to do that is you can call and ask if there is a particular coordinator who is coordinating libraries' STEAM or STEM programs, or if they're currently having someone who specifically coordinate only like science or STEM related, you know, type of programs. Those would be very helpful, or, you know, health programs, things like that, or lifelong learning programs. And now to plan ahead, it's really important for you to know librarians are really wearing multiple hats when we're, you know, for that within that 8 hours, 8 hour day. We are really busy between covering reference desk, providing advisory services, and then running various type of programs based on the city or the systems initiatives. And on top of that, we have to try to manage and monitoring daily operations and, you know, make sure things are going okay. So our time and, you know, it can be a little tight. So I just want to give you a heads up that usually if you're interested in having us to host, to collaborate with you and make your citizen science project as part of our program, we typically try to plan our program at least 2 months ahead. That's 8 weeks ahead. For Los Angeles Public Library, for instance, we plan our things. We have to turn our schedules literally 8 weeks ahead, and that so by the time when we started to put this on what we call the schedule sheet, we already thinking about promotions, preparations, supplies, materials, and all that. So so don't just think you can call the library and then you will be able to get your program, or, you know, we'll be able to help you launch that project within a week of time. It's just, you know, it does take a lot of planning. As you make the contact, it's important for you to keep things as simple, and also try to help us by explaining your project in plain English, because we are not scientists. A lot of us actually don't have science or technology or, you know, basically STEM background. So, you know, by explaining that to us without jargons, it's easier for us to comprehend, and we can quickly think about how that can tie into any of our existing initiatives or programs. And some of the information that we really want to know from you as while you make this initial contact is what is your project about, what your project is about, and how can that be tied into libraries' existing initiatives and programs. Do you have a targeting audience, like that would be the age group or gender? What is your data gap? Is there, for instance, if you want to work, if you're working with a major metropolitan library system that have multiple branches in different pockets of communities. Is there a particular one you're targeting? If you are, you can let us know ahead of time. We would definitely try to put that into consideration and make them our priority when we reach out. What type of support would you be able to provide? Will you be able to provide training to the librarians? Or you can do maybe, we can always host something we call train the trainer program. So you can train a couple librarians, and these librarians will go out and train other librarians. For our system, we have over 220 librarians. So we typically try to have maybe 16 librarians, few from each region, to come out to get a training, and then they go back and train other librarians. Would you be able to provide subject matter experts to help us when we run the program? These subject matter expert, would they be able to come out or meet us virtually to, talk to our participants or explain about, your project? Will you be able to provide any sort of material supplies? Are you able to provide any sort of promotion ideas or promotional collateral, any sort of resources? And then we also would like to know your timeline. When do you want to wrap up your project, or if this is an ongoing, and what is your goal when you want to participate with when you want to collaborate with the library? What do you wish to get out of? What type of feedback do you need? And who do you need these feedback from? So we are pretty used to providing surveys, and I just want to add this to your note. If you're thinking about having us to hand out the surveys, it's very important the surveys to be very short. Most people, when they come into the library doing a program, it's very different from what we call more like a structured classroom type of environment. People walking in, they do the program. If they like it, they stick around. If they don't, they leave. And we typically, we always think a lot, try to make it fun and engaging so people will stay until the end. And so if the program goes on for a while, we probably only have maybe 5 to 10 minutes, or probably 5 minutes or less for people to work on surveys. And people really typically don't answer survey questions that require a lot of writing. So it's either yes or no, or 1 through 5, something like that. Those are the ones that usually get answered. Now, question 2, how to plan a meetup or a successful event at a library with library staff. So, sorry, my notes here is a little weird. Okay, so again, plan ahead. It's really important. Like just use all the information I provided in the previous. Just plan ahead, and it will always help us if you would be able to schedule information sharing or some sort of follow-up meeting with us regularly leading up to the event or the deadline of your project. Currently, for example, Caroline is doing this Citizen Science Month, and she's planning weekly virtual meetings through Zoom to get people involved. And every week, all the librarians who's involved in try to host the Citizen Science Month programs in the library, they would be able to have a chance to ask their questions and voice their concerns and ask for help. If you could provide us some easy to follow instructions and allow room for librarians to provide feedback, suggestions. We do ask for flexibility. I know usually when you have a citizen science project, the protocol itself may be really rigorous, but we sometimes, because the nature of our audience or our facility or environment, we will need that flexibility to see how we can either make it a little easier, or how to, so it's important you let us know what are the key parts, the key points that you need us to help you achieve in your citizen science project. If you can provide us the resources, that would be from program idea to, again, subject matter experts, any sort of tutorials, whether online or on, on screen, anything would be great. And really just be able to answer our questions and be ready to help us, because none of us are scientists or chemists or anyone with a STEAM. Most of us don't have that strong that background, so we really need your help to get that through. And whatever that will work for us, it will be easier when once we understand your project thoroughly, it will be easier for us to translate that and then pass that message on to the participants as well. Now here's the third question: how a researcher can work with the library long-term and activating their effort during Citizen Science Month. So it's really important that to maintain that relationship you have established with us. One way to do that is just keep us posted with the projects that you have or you have in mind, and also let us know what's and how's the progress. And one thing that we found is most of the citizen science project that gets a lot of interest and attention is when participants feel they feel very strong as a sense of participation, like they actually contribute to something. So having that feedback from your citizen science project or from your project saying that so-and-so, this particular participant has participated, and then for them to receive that personal message coming from you, that would be wonderful. That is really great. Currently, we work with the Globe. We work with Globe, which is global learning and observation to benefit the environment. They called Basic Observer Cloud. And one thing we really love is the participants, once they go through that whole app steps and upload the data that they needed, NASA actually will send them an email letting them know that, oh, just so you know that the data you sent to us actually matches to our satellite number, blah, 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 blah. So right away they were like, wow, I got a message coming from NASA and they got my data. So that was the sense of participation that most of our participants are looking for. And also, just responsive to librarians' questions and concerns, and definitely our cry for help. Usually, again, we're not scientists, so any sort of information, resources that you can offer us to make it easier, we welcome that. And provide supports. If you have any FAQ pages that we can use, that we can also pour that into our website. For example, currently we're working on creating a neighborhood science website or web portal, basically, and that would have all the FAQs, all the resources that's being shared with us from the partners that we've been working with. Would you be able to offer any sort of incentive? It doesn't have to be actual swag, but swag's always welcome. Would you be able to, again, have the regular meetup leading up to whatever the event, for example, in this case will be the Citizen Science Month, or, the deadline of your project. And lastly, I want to put this in your mind is that we can be your best grant partner. We have librarians who are really great in writing grants. And also, if you are thinking of applying a grant, putting us in, we are very organized. We think a lot of, when we decide to partner with you, we think a lot of things, and we are super organized. And you're going to see that in the next page, in my next slide. So let's say we already decided to collaborate with you to help you push your citizen science project out. This is what we have start thinking as soon as we start talking to you, and once we say yes, it's a go. So we will brainstorm. It won't be coming out from just one librarian. We usually have a small team of librarians who is working on the different programs to collaborate. And so we will start thinking who we can reach out, how we can tie your project to our programs and services, existing or non-existing or upcoming, how to assess the success or collect feedback. That's feedback for you and feedback for us. How does the community or our patrons or the program participant can benefit from your project? How can we make it and tweak it to make it beneficial for you and for us? What do we need to carry out your project as a library program or a library workshop or services? Do we need to create circulating kits? Do we need to bring in speakers? Do we need to host workshops regularly? Would it be a one-off program? Things like that. How can we help? How can we promote this in the communities that we want to target? And also we will be thinking about what other local community organization in the neighborhood we could reach out and collaborate with to get the word out, so they know we are offering these citizen science we're offering your citizen science project as a program in our library, and how to get more people to participate. Now we're working, Globe has a tree measuring campaign coming up. They want to tie into Earth Day 2020. So we are working, we found it's really beneficial to work with tree people. So we are actually collaborating with tree people now. So they will be bringing their subject matter experts to speak at our libraries. And then at the end, they will be giving out trees. So that we can combine all these together and create a really fun and engaging program. So again, our goal is not just to make it, we try to move away from make it very structural, because a lot of our participants, it could be teens or children, they're already been learning a lot of these knowledge or these information in their schools. So we try to make it more fun and more engaging so they can continue that and then take it back into the classroom. So that's what we have in mind. So now I want to quickly show you some of the stuff that we have been doing with some of the science project partners that we work with, and how we take their project and run with it. So as you can see, we have Globe at Night kit here. And so we do the Globe at Night citizen science project. We do monitoring water quality with M-Water Surveyor kit. We have clouds with the Globe Observer kit. So we create all these kits using the LSTA grant that we have in hand. So if you approach us without a grant, and we find that to be something that is it would be a very successful, it would be a very beneficial program for the communities that we serve, we will go out and look for grant as well. Here's another one you can see, that's the mosquito habitat mapper. And then these are some of the programs that we run, the citizen science programs, using the kits that we create. So here's the one, and that's the we're doing several different pilot branches. And so last year we participated in it, for the first time we participated in the Citizen Science Day 2019. And it was a Stalk Catcher Megathon. And as soon as we decided that we going to partner, we start thinking how we gonna be able to promote this event. So we went, when I go out, or when we start thinking about all the outreach that we're doing, we try to build this in as part of it. So we even, if you can see in the background, there is a Citizen Science Day poster board. And then we bring our iPads out, we let people, try it out in the different outreach program what we did. So this one is actually done at this Southern California Linux Expo. They gave us a community table, and then we were able to let people try that Stalk Catcher Megathon and getting the word out. And a lot of participants would be able to participate remotely without being in the library. Here's another one that we did. We went and attend the City of STEM Science Festival 2019. And again, we brought out the laptops and the poster board about Citizen Science Day, the Megathon. And it was a very successful thing. We observed adults, kids, seniors who were at the event. They were really intrigued by this whole, by the Megathon itself. And, that understanding that it can contribute and help, complete one strand of research within an hour, that just get them all excited. So here is the Megathon that we did at the library on the day of, and you can see we have people coming in. They were just doing it was like a competition among other branches. So, so you can see that these are the photo, and this is our glorious moment that we found out we were actually, since it's a competition, we actually won the first place on that day, to have, I guess, to solve or to identify most of the strands. Most of the, the stalls.
Yep, and
okay.
I think I'm gonna take up my portion now, but I love that. Okay. I always love seeing that picture, and I'm gonna finish us out with our last few minutes here to talk to you all about how you can get involved and handle CitSci Month this coming April. And I just wanted to thank Dan and Vivian for showing, giving these great case studies of what a library can do, I just think that's absolutely astounding. So whoever you are on this call, some of you may be volunteers, some of you may be citizen scientists yourselves, some of you may be professional researchers, some of you may just be community activists or organizers, or just people who are plugged into the community. Whoever you are, you can do something during April to get the word out about citizen science, to get more people doing citizen science. I think that's the ultimate goal of all this. It's to reach people we haven't reached before, and for people we have reached, to get them actually doing real research. So Citizen Science Month, as you know, it's coming up, and we have lots of great partners for it. And I'm going to close the little screen so you can see it. So Dan mentioned the National Library of Medicine. They have been such great supporters and helping us create resources for all of you to use, which I'll get to in a second. The Citizen Science Association, we're so grateful to them for helping us host this webinar and making it happen. We got ASU, as you saw, Dan's here from the School for the Future of Innovation in Society. They've been awesome. And of course, SciStarter, that's who I'm representing. We're just a resource for you to add your events, access resources, get ideas, and do something in April. So it's individuals, it's libraries, community groups, institutions. So if you, for example, want to have a talk in your local library about your research, if you want to say, you know, I've been studying this and I've gotten the help of citizen scientists and this is what we've discovered, you could potentially, for example, book a conference room at a local library and just give a talk. Libraries are a great central community place where you can reach everyone. Or you could just do it at your institution. If you're at a university, for example, you could book a classroom and give a talk. We just want things to happen in April. And once you've planned something, we want you to add your event to SciStarter and use our resources to reach registered SciStarter users and other people too to go to that event. So how do you get started? Well, step one, I really encourage all of you to go scistarter.org/Citizen Science Month FAQ. That's where you can sign up as an event organizer or someone who's going to be centrally involved in kind of facilitating an event. Then you can join one of the optional Citizen Science Month office hours calls. You never know who you're going to get at these. We've had people from different continents. It's not just the United States or North America. We've had people from different countries all over the world who chime in, and that's why we offer 3 call times every Thursday at 8 a.m. Eastern, at 11 a.m. Eastern, and at 8 p.m. Eastern. So I spend my Thursday, and I never know who's going to show up, but it's always so fun because I can give them updates on the resources we've been planning, and then I can help them brainstorm and figure out how we can support them. And there's also some synergy there too, some cross-pollinating, because you never know who you'll meet on that call and what relationships you can forge and what collaborations can come of that. And then adding your event. So you can type in citizensciencemonth.org or scistarter.org/Citizen Science Month. This website's going to look different pretty soon. We're getting it redesigned, and we're so grateful for that. But you can still add your event there now, and then you can use the SciStarter People Finder to invite people to do it or to ask for volunteers. So scistarter.org/People Finder is how you message SciStarter users in a given area. And we've built in privacy protections with the People Finder. So you wouldn't know someone's identity until they responded to you. So Dan mentioned earlier, there's too much goodness to cram into one day. We want to have something going on every day in April. And that's why we opened up this calendar wish list to the whole world. We've been tweeting it on the SciStarter side of things. We've been posting it on Facebook. Whenever people come to the weekly calls, we solicit their ideas, and we're suggesting different featured projects around these different days, and we're creating a staging area and a calendar on SciStarter. And we're hoping that for example, International Dark Sky Week, we hope that you pick a project like Globe at Night, where you study light pollution, or just something to do with nighttime during that week. Plan your own event, then add it to the SciStarter. You could say, you know, I'm celebrating International Dark Sky Week in Toronto on this Saturday. Here's my event on SciStarter. I'm adding it, and I can get more people involved. And then we have an awesome National Library Week effort with our support from the National Library of Medicine, where a lot of libraries are going to be doing things too. So there's something for everyone, and we urge you to suggest your different themed days. So our resources, what's under redesign now is we're creating new bookmarks and templates that you could just print and use for your events. We're creating signage. I saw Mike Bear was on the line. He actually joined one of our weekly calls and he said, you know, we could really use a yard sign. And now the designer for this project is literally designing a yard sign template that he'll be able to use for his event for Citizen Science Month in April. Certificates are going to be available to print, buttons of different sizes that you could make for your participants, interactive posters. You saw the poster Dan had where people could literally put post-it notes on it. It creates a good thing for your event. It's always fun for me when I have these interactive posters to see what people put at the end of the day. So things like that. And we're also updating the library and community guide to citizen science, which is, there's good stuff in here, even if you're not with a library. That's why we added the community portion, because you can use this and you can take pages from it. We're happy to share them. For your own purposes, explaining citizen science. There are book lists in here, all sorts of good stuff. So in terms of if you're a project owner, we urge you to consider becoming a SciStarter affiliate. It just means that you're opting into an extra level of tracking with SciStarter, and we feature you in more and more programs. Or if you're an organizer and you're looking for an awesome project to feature, these are our featured projects for Citizen Science Month. We selected all of them because they have something to do with either health or the environment, our environmental health, for example, with debris tracker, where you're mapping pollution hotspots. But for all of these projects, they're SciStarter affiliates, so they allow for people to get credit for their contributions in their dashboard and get a certificate in their dashboard around Citizen Science Month from SciStarter if they're a registered SciStarter user. But there are also projects where they really could use a national in the United States and also global effort for our friends in other countries. So any of these projects would be great for you to feature in a program, and you can find them at scistarter.org/NLM, because these are the National Library of Medicine selected projects, and they are all SciStarter affiliates, which is why we were able to select them and feature them in this program. But for Citizen Science Month, we really just want anyone, anywhere to do something for citizen science. So if you run a project, great. Plan an event, add it to scistarter.org. If you are looking for a place to do your event, if you run a project, maybe contact your local library, or you can just come on to one of our weekly calls and we can give you advice about how best to do it. You could do even like a Citizen Science and Suds event if you wanted to plan a happy hour in your area and just have people come and talk about what they want to do for public engagement and research. There's really no limit to this. And we at SciStarter are here to help you with our weekly office hours, with our resources that you can print out and use. When you add your event to our event finder, and you can engage users that way by messaging people through the people finder. We can help promote your events on social media. And because of our relationships and our great partners with all of this, we really want this to be a global thing, and we want to support you. So I hope to hear from you on a Thursday. And in our last 2 minutes, I think we can open it up for questions. Is that right, Rihanna?
Thank you all so much for sharing all that. I feel like we got some great history, some good how-tos, and an open door to visit Caroline on Thursdays if you have any more questions about resources or engagement there.
Yes, come hang out with me. And you can suggest theme days too. We're about to close it all up in terms of the theme days, so this is your last chance for everybody on the call. Come on a Thursday and let's just talk.
There was one question about Earth Day and the Earth Challenge, which I know I have heard a little bit about that. And so Caroline, I didn't know if you had anything to share about partnerships with that.
So I think the great thing about Citizen Science Month is because there's so much happening in April, like the anniversary of Earth Day, you can take different projects and kind of do programming around it. So some of those projects I shared on the scistarter.org/NLM page, I reckon if you're looking to do a program like for Earth Day, I recommend maybe doing something like Debris Tracker and just inviting people in your community to do it. So that's like the main appeal of like these theme days like Earth Day. You can connect citizen science projects to it. And it looks like someone said, how does it work logistically to partner with libraries for a project based in the field, i.e. off library property? Maybe Vivian or Dan, could you take that one?
I'm just going to jump in real quick. So we did have some projects that works like that. So it would take time for us to work out the detail with you if it's off library property, and also we need to know, for instance, is it something that can be done in the park or something nearby? So logistically, to start is you bring that up when you talk to whichever librarian or whichever library system that you want to reach out to, and let them know that it requires them to do things out by, let's say, by the river or by streams or something. And then from there, we would try to figure out what are some of the city policies and how we can try to, for example, get the permits to get, for example, a group of teenagers to go out to participate in that program and do the citizen science project.
Great. And I know, Vivian, I think you had a hard stop at 4 p.m. Eastern. So if you have to hop off, I understand. Dan and I will take it from here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vivian.
Bye.
Rihanna, did anyone have any more questions for us?
I think there was one about projects for tweens, 8 to 12-year-old, if you can think of
I can answer this one.
Yeah.
So on the SciStarter Project Finder, if you go to scistarter.org/finder, you can actually search by age group, and projects often tag themselves as relevant for different age groups. Because like there are some projects where you'd probably want to be 18 plus to do if they have more like proprietary information. But there are other projects where it could be appropriate to do as a family. So you can search by elementary school, middle school, high school, adults, seniors. So I'd recommend doing that. And if you want to be able to track your contributions in your SciStarter dashboard through our partnerships with different projects, you can also tag in the SciStarter Project Finder only SciStarter affiliates. So you'd be able to see SciStarter affiliates and whatever else search criteria you want. So yeah, I would just use the Finder, explore it, and see what comes up.
I would also add that there, if you are in a school or a homeschooling situation, you can search projects by those that have existing curricular materials.
Yes, that's a good point.
Right in there. So if that's something that you're interested in. And then just to get back as well to the off-site thing that Vivian kind of answered, some of the libraries may be involved in a bio blitz or something like that, where you are, people are going out to a particular area. And you may kind of host a kind of a staging event at first for something like that, where you can kind of review how to make your observations and turn them in, things like that, make sure everybody's got water, things like that at the library, and then send people out to different places as well. So that could be kind of a place where you meet up before and after, and then let people go off on their own to do some of those things.
Great. Oh, looks like someone else has something. Our project collects reports from volunteers across the country. We need more participation from people from every province. Oh, they might be in Canada. Do you have ideas on how we might reach a much broader library region? Our local library system belongs to the province. They are indeed in Canada. Dan, what do you think of that?
Well, I know here in the States, and I apologize, I don't know that much about the system there. The public libraries here in the States, you generally have a state library that kind of helps oversee programming in public libraries. That's a good way to go. There's also the library associations. So I know folks in Canada can be members of the American Library Association. So that's another thing to check into to see if you can use their existing networks, because they do communicate. So if you can find a contact person in each province, that would be a good place to start.
You can also, if you have specific gaps, you can use the SciStarter People Finder to target different areas. So you could say, oh, I'm going to message all the citizen scientists who are registered on SciStarter in Toronto. If you want to like hit people on the individual level. Oh, another Q&A question. He said, our local library is connected to libraries across the country. We need to connect with libraries across the country. I'll look into that. Great, great. And Dan, thank you for answering his question. And for some of you, even if you don't run a project, if you're just a citizen science enthusiast, I really do recommend just planning a meetup sometime in April. You can have a lot of fun, like just booking a conference room at your local library, or asking people to come to a coffee shop to do stall catchers with you, or on any other featured project on the NLM page. There's really no limit. And the local library, of course, is a great trusted meeting spot. Any other questions from anybody?
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
we're getting some thank yous and that folks are starting to duck out. And so if you have any additional questions, I'll be following up with an email with the recording, and we'll include email addresses for all our presenters. So if you need to reach out to any of them directly, you should be able to do that. Thanks to everybody for being on today, and a big thank you to our presenters.
Yeah, and thank you to the Citizen Science Association.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Make sure you all attend CSA 2021.